The mission of UNESCO is to build the defenses of peace in the minds of men and women. So it is about constructing or contributing to international understanding, bringing people together. When it comes to archives, the idea was, from the very beginning, the founding fathers and mothers, their idea was that archives should be seen as a shared memory of humanity. It's not a kind of community thing where you build up your own pride in a nation state or whatever, but it is shared because there's interactions. And also it was not an angelic approach, because it was clear from the outset that archives it's a fighting area. It's about the flesh and blood of history. So the result is not given, but it has to be fought. And that was why UNESCO wanted to promote. In fact, UNESCO is a kind of missionary organization, because UNESCO wants to change the world. It sounds maybe a little bit ambitious, but in any case, I believe so, and I think it's founded in our constitution. So archives were right from the outset linked to that, what should I say, global and kind of, a noble mission, but at the same time, then this had to be translated into action.
We will try to work in partnership and solidarity with colleagues in 3 particular case study type institutions, which we've heard about in the course of these 2 days, those being Grenada, Trinidad and Namibia. And in their different ways, we will try to provide a sympathetic and sensitive support mechanism, avoiding any sort of falling into any of the traps that have affected international aid donors and so on. We'll be very sensitive, very non-patronising, very much involved in support for these different sets of colleagues. But we think that in each of the 3 cases we can, as a network, bring something to bear.
We have a lot of information out there that is just in people's minds. People are repeating it. We heard about the genocide in 1904 from our parents. As a child, these were told, and by the time, as you know, by the time the 10th person tells the story, it's a different story. But we do have historians within our communities, but these people are also slowly but surely leaving us. So we started recording the history, and through the recording we have about 1,300 cassettes. I think this is a bit the information. We have slightly more than that. And also, so at least something is happening. The awareness is there, and I think that, by the time we have to do this again, I'm going to have a positive report where I say now we have so many manuscripts and so many authors are registered, and we have this.
This Literary Archives project is so important to our region. It's so important because it's one of the ways that we can network. It's one of the ways that we can be informed. We have been kept in the dark for so long, you know what I mean? So that we are hoping that since all that has happened in the early 1900s, when we first started trying to preserve our archival records,
all of those ideas about shared memory, homecoming, wholeness, decolonising the mind, are all of the things that Merle and I talk about. But on the other hand, we have to recognise that the politics of world knowledge systems sometimes aren't quite as subtle in their negotiations as we've been talking about. We have wonderful reasons to celebrate the writing and the creative thinking that's come about because of the diasporic nature of Caribbean lives and the riches that Helena allowed us to kind of glimpse in those catalogue holdings. But I think we cannot ignore the lack of satisfaction, particularly material satisfaction, that the condition of being a peripheral diasporic post-colonial place has brought for Caribbean literary culture.
I had just discovered that the library in Grenada was closed, meaning the archives were closed, the library was closed because things were in such bad shape at this building that they decided that they would have to move the occupants, meaning, in this case, meaning the people who worked there, distribute them elsewhere within the civil service, but the books remain. And that the books, the archives, everything else remain in there. And that was about a year ago. Someone then told me I was overstating the situation, that, you know, it would be okay soon, but soon has not yet come. Do I think is needed? Of course, I don't know what it's possible to do, but I thought I would bring all of these things to your attention, and I thank David, Alison, everyone else involved with the organization for giving me the opportunity to say these things. There's training. I mentioned training already. The question of perhaps, you know, conservators, archive assistants, archivists, technical assistants for digitizing audio and video material, technical assistants to determine what if any patterns are needed, you know, to determine how to store data and meta as well. You see what I'm saying? So all of this, and how to the migration of information, all of these things. But of course, as you can hear from my presentation, what is needed most of all is simply a building for archives.